everybody. Thanks for joining me here today. This is Nicole with Topaz, and today we are going to be talking about Topaz Lens Effects and how we can create realistic lens filter simulations within there. So to tell you a little bit more about what we're going to be covering, let me first explain to you what Topaz Lens Effects is if you are unfamiliar with it. Lens Effects is a virtual lens, camera, and filter bag. So it simulates all different sorts of things. It simulates realistic depth of field. It gives you one-click focal point selection where you can enhance or change your focal point. It gives you specialty camera effects such as tilt shift and specialty lens effects as well. And then what we're going to be covering here today are the traditional and creative filter simulations. So these are different filter simulations, basically physical filters that you can put on your lens while shooting, and if you might not have that, you can do it after the shot. So that's what we're going to be going over here today. Let me go ahead and get out of this screen and we can jump right on into the program. All right. Okay, so again, Lens Effects is packed full of these different realistic lens or filter effects. We have 11 specific filter effects, from an everyday polarizer or graduated neutral density filter to a more creative effect like a diffusion filter or fog effect. We offer a very wide variety of these filter simulations. So we're going to be going over each of those types of simulations, what each one actually is trying to simulate, and then we'll go into a few workflows as well. We're going to start off here with this image where I have created a ton of different layers here within Photoshop so you can see a before and after of each of these effects. The first one is going to be a diffusion filter. This is the before image, and here is our diffusion effect that I've applied to this particular layer. Here's before and here's after. Diffusion is going to provide kind of a glowing, ethereal quality to your photograph, and it results in kind of a glow-like or dream-like atmosphere. And the really nice thing is in Lens Effects, the soft image quality doesn't necessarily detract from the overall detail. You can actually bring in or keep a lot of that detail within the effect itself. So let me show you that one more time. Here's before and here's after. The next one that we have is a dual tone filter, which is going to be a variable color filter, and that is going to allow you to put in two different types of color tone, and you can dial it into different areas within your image. So for this particular dual tone effect, I applied a cooling filter to the top portion, the sky of the image, and then I applied a warming filter to the actual land. So let me show you that one more time. Here's before and after. Now this is a more subtle effect. Again, we have more traditional and subtle effects like this, or more creative as well. The next one, the fog filter, is definitely a more creative type of simulation. So it provides a fog-like effect, and it dramatically lowers your overall contrast within that fog area, so it just starts covering it up like it would be fog. Now this particular image isn't the best one for a fog effect, so we're going to be going into this specific workflow with an image that I think works really well with this effect. But the great thing about the fog filter in Lens Effects, the simulated one, is that it maintains a lot of the sharpness within the area that's not affected by the fog, and it's less affected by highlight flare than your standard traditional fog filters that you would use on your lens itself. So that's really nice as well. Let's see here. The next one is going to be a graduated color. Graduated color filter is going to let you, like the dual tone filter, add in color selectively to an area of your image. However, it leaves the rest of the scene unaffected. So it goes from a half color to half clear, and it allows you to choose exactly where you want to do. And it really has a nice graduated transition for smooth blending into that clear area. So for this particular graduated color, I added the warming tone effect to the land area and left the sky untouched. Let me show you that one more time. Here's before and here's after. Next is one of my favorites. It's our graduated neutral density filter. It helps to specifically darken skies in your images and other bright areas that might be just a little out of place. So it helps to balance out your image and easily quickly darkens your skies. Here's before, here's after. I like it because it gives a nice little dramatic effect and pops out those clouds quite a bit. Let me show you that one more time. Here's before and after. The next we have polarization filter. This is also a more standard traditional type of filter. It's going to it's going to simulate eliminating ultraviolet rays. It obviously can't do that because it wasn't there when you were shooting it, but it's going to try to do the same thing that a polarizer filter placed upon your lens might do as well. So helps to remove reflections and increase the color saturation, and especially can dramatically enhance blue skies. So let's see here. I'm sorry. Here's after. This is a pretty strong polarizing effect, but I'll go over the different amounts that we are able to use within the simulation itself. Here's before and after. The next one is not a traditional filter placed upon your lens. It is, I'm not sure really why it got put into the filter area, but it is there, and it's our reflector filter. So the reflector filter is going to simulate using a reflector, like a gold or a silver fold-out reflector in a certain area of your image. So it's going to kind of just give that reflection type of feel that you would get if you were actually using one. So this one is actually reflector silver. And you'll see it over here on this lower left as I open that up. Here's before and after. We'll definitely be going over this reflector filter as well. The next one is the single tone filter. The single tone, similar to the dual tone filter, that it applies color into your scene, except it adds only one color and it does it across the entire image. So it gives you the ability to change the overall color to create a certain type of an effect that you might be after. Here's the single tone that I applied into this image. So it enhances the existing color or comes and can create some color drama very quickly. One where that is commonly used as a tobacco filter and a traditional screw-on lens filter. So that might be something you've heard of, but you can quickly create any type of single tone that you want within Lens Effects. Next, we have our UV haze reduction filter, and that is going to be a more traditional type of filter. The one that you place on your actual lens helps to absorb the ultraviolet light and reduce the bluish cast of daylight. And it's a basic protection filter as well for your lens, but it can also really cut through the haze when you're photographing at high altitudes or around bodies of water. So it's not going to necessarily change the color, but it's going to just cut through the haze and make everything a bit more clear. Here's before and after. The next two filters are going to be our cooling filter and our warming filter, and these are just more traditional types of cooling filters or warming filter. It's like a tone filter, except more for just getting a little bit more of a cool tone coming into your image or a warm tone. And lastly, we have a creative filter, and that's going to be our streak filter. The streak filter allows for you to add in streak-like areas to your image with still a point within your image staying focused. So it can give you a sense of motion. It can give you a sense of panning almost. So we'll be going over that as well. So let's go ahead and we'll start off with this particular image to go over a few of them, and then we'll move on to another image. Let me go into Filter, Topaz Labs, Topaz Lens Effects. If you're unfamiliar with Topaz Lens Effects, we do have an introductory course online already on our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/topazlabs. We are not going to be going over all of the different things that you can really do within this program. It is a very strong and powerful program with different bokeh effects to give you different focal points, different camera effects, such as pinhole, tilt shift, toy camera, which is some of my favorites, and then different lens effects as well, such as a fisheye lens or a split prism lens, and then some additional generic adjustments as well, just to help you out while you're in this particular session. But today we are going over these 11 filter effects here for you. So with this image, I'm just going to show you some of our more traditional type of, or more standard, let me say, type of filter effects, such as our graduated neutral density. It's one of my favorites. If my graduated neutral density filter while I'm shooting is not dark enough and I want my sky to be even darker, I'll come into Lens Effects, just click on my filter, graduated neutral density, over here on the left-hand side, and then all of my presets for the graduated neutral density effect will show up here below it. I have some, I think, let's see here, about 12 different presets here for you, but I always come down here because I usually am adding it to the top. You can add it to the top half by one stop. Here's before, here's after. Top half 2 stops, which will make it go a little bit darker. Here's before, here's after. And if that comes too far down into your image, you can come to the top quarter or top quarter 2 stops. Here's before, here's after. So within each filter effect, whenever you click on the one that you're interested in, over here on the right, you're going to have the menu, the actual adjustment menu change. When you click on the tab itself, it'll open all the different sliders here for you, so you can come in and manually create your own effect as well, because sometimes these presets aren't going to necessarily be exactly what you need. So what I'm going to do is click on this top quarter 2 stops. Here's before and after. And then I'm going to come over here to the right and we're going to change some of this around. Let's say I want to make it a little bit darker, maybe make it come down into my sky instead of 1/2, about 1/3. So between my top half and top quarter presets. Each one of our effects are very simple to place exactly where you want. The first thing I like to do if I want to place it somewhere where I don't have a preset is come to my effect position. When you click on effect position and you scroll back into your image, you'll see that your mouse is now turned into some crosshairs, and you can place the effect, which is again the neutral density filter, which will darken the areas that you placed on, anywhere within your image. I clicked in the middle of my image and you saw that kind of jump down. Let me take that brightness down so you really see what's happening here behind the scenes. Now this is obviously too strong, but again, you can click on that effect position, put it exactly where you want, and that's where it's going to start to affect your image. So I'm going to place it right back here on the top. There we are. And I'll leave the brightness down so you can really see what we do here. And I'm also going to take the transition down. The transition is going to help you blend it in with the unaffected area and make a really smooth transition between the actual effect versus the part that's not being affected. But I wanted to actually take that transition down so you can see again what's going on behind the scenes. Now if I take that amount up, it's going to start coming down into my image. So I can place it exactly where I want, which I want it about right here. I can take that transition and create a really nice natural transition by just taking the transition slider up, and I can take that brightness a little up to get that a little bit more realistic. Again, here's before, here's after. Now I have a graduated neutral density effect simulated that I like. If you want to change the angle, let's say I want my neutral density filter to come across the image in a right, coming from basically following the line of my hill here. I can come in, let's take that transition down, and change my angle by just changing the slider itself. And you get it to exactly where you want to be, maybe about right there instead. Now I can take my transition up, and it'll come down from this corner and have a different angle here for you if that's what you'd like. Now this is before, and this is after. So that is the graduated neutral density. Now let's talk about another more standard filter, such as the polarization, which is right underneath it. I'm going to say reset all and just click on the polarization. Again, the polarization is going to, or the polarizer simulation is going to simulate eliminating some of the ultraviolet rays from these outdoor shots, as well as it's really helpful with reflections as well. So if you're shooting into water, taking it through this polarizer filter is just going to help to clear up some of the haze that might be there. It increases your color saturation and really works on your blues and greens. So this is high, so it's obviously very high. Here's before, here's after. I like to maybe go to mild or moderate. Here's before and after. You can open up your polarization adjustments, and there's only one slider within this particular one, and maybe take that strength down or up to get it exactly where you want to be. So this is a very easy simulation with this one slider. The next one I wanted to talk about with this particular image was the UV haze. The UV haze, again, a very standard type of lens filter. Majority of people I know have a UV haze filter on every single one of their lenses because it's just helpful to cut through the haze. It is a protective filter, and it helps to absorb those ultraviolet lights, which can cause kind of the more bluish cast going on. So if I want to do just a slight haze reduction, here's before, here's after. It just opens up these areas, cuts through all the way to the background. Again, here's before, here's after. So it really reduces that atmospheric haze. If you open up the haze adjustments, this as well is a very simple algorithm, or I'm sorry, not simple algorithm, but simple to adjust with your strength slider, and that's it. It's just going to go stronger or less strong. All right, let's go ahead and reset all. And let's go ahead and talk about some of our color filters that are going to be coming in here. We'll go into a different image for that. And we'll go over this particular image and how I created that. This used a gold reflector on our girl here. Here's before, here's after. I also added a couple other things, so I'll go over this particular workflow. But let's say we just want a very slightly enhanced sky or area of the image, such as this. Here is after, but this is before. I thought the foreground here was just really beautiful. It had a nice pink cast coming to it, and the sky did not reflect that, though, in the actual image itself. So you can easily just add that in. I used a graduated color filter for this particular scene. All right, so let's go in and show you how to work with this as well. It's very similar to the same adjustments as your graduated neutral density filter that we just went over. So let me go ahead and pop on into Lens Effects again. And I'm going to go up to our graduated color filter. We do have several graduated presets here for you. Blue, blue 2, green, green 2, on different areas of your image, just to give you an idea of kind of where you can start off with. But I'm going to go ahead and press Reset All and just create it myself. So I'm going to open up my graduated color adjustments and going to just start with an amount. And right now the color itself is at this kind of green color, and I'm just going to go with that until I choose my color. So now that I have the amount and I know kind of where it is, I'm going to come down to my effect position and click on the sky, and it jumps to my sky. Now I'm able to kind of go through the same process as we did before, take the transition down, maybe take the region size into my landscape a little or into the foreground, and then take the transition back up, take that region size down. Now I'm going to go into select color. This is one of the ones where you can come in, you can actually just select the color that you're looking for. So if I wanted more of a pink, I'm going to go to maybe that salmon pink and say OK. And that's pretty good. So let me take that transition down one more time. And I'm going to lighten the amount and take the transition up a little. And that quickly I was able to go from this to a very, very slight enhancement on my sky and nowhere else. Now you can be very strong with these adjustments or these different colors. So that's just however you would like to apply it. You can get very creative with these color filters, or you can actually just be very subtle as well. All right, now let's say I wanted to take this image and actually, well, not for this particular one. Let me see here. Oh, this is a good one to look at with the overall tone. So a single tone color filter that'll be applied to the whole image. After shooting this image, it came out a little too magenta, so I went in and I quickly applied a little bit of a green filter on top of it, just a green color filter, and it took out and neutralized that magenta tone that was happening. So that's very easily fixed. Let me just make a quick background copy, hop on into Filter, Topaz Labs, Topaz Lens Effects, and go to my single tone filter. Now we have several presets in the single tone filter, some that are going to be much more creative like this brilliance, some that are going to be more corrective like this cool tone filter, which works really nicely actually for this particular image. Here's before and after. It just kind of takes that magenta-esque away. So all different types of single tones here that you can play with that can dramatically change the color effect of your image versus just correct the color haze that's already going on. So this is the hint of green light, which is the one I applied to get it to be much more neutralized because I noticed there was a magenta cast coming on. But again, we do have these more creative filters that can kind of give you different types of an effect. Here's before, here's after. Let me go ahead and press reset all though, and we're back to our original image, and I'm going to go up into my color tone adjustments here on the right side. If I look at my color tone adjustments, I see 6 different color casts. I have cyan, red, magenta, green, yellow, and blue that I can add into my color filter simulation. So because I'm looking at more of a magenta red type of cast that I want to get rid of, I'm going to go to those opposite colors, so green or cyan, and add that in to kind of counteract that issue. So I'm just going to come to my green cast and start adding that in, and that does a pretty good job right off the bat. Maybe a little bit of cyan as well. And I quickly went from here to here and took that color cast away. Within the image adjustments tab underneath the color tone adjustments, we have brightness, contrast, and saturation adjustments here for you. The reason they are there is if you go kind of heavier handed with your color cast or color filter simulation. So let's say we did an old school haze 1, and we wanted to add a little bit more, maybe yellow, everything just kind of go a little bit more. You'll start to see that it almost looks like a haze is forming, and you've lost some of that contrast and saturation that you might have initially enjoyed in the image. So you can just come into the image adjustments right below your color tone adjustments and figure out what areas you'd like to add back in. So if I want to add in a little bit more contrast, I can do so. A little bit more saturation, I can do so. And it just helps to bring out some of that original image contrast and brightness and everything that you might have changed within the color tone adjustments themselves. So let's go into another image here. This is a more creative effect. I'll show you this and then I'll show you more of a subtle effect of using it. But this is using the dual tone color filter. So essentially the variable color filter there, you can add 2 different colors into your image in a very selective way. So that's going to be under the dual tone filter effect. You still have these presets here for you. You have more traditional ones like cool to warm 1. If you click here's before and after, it's very subtle, it's great for landscapes. But then you can come into more creative ones. So these are just some presets for you to start off with, kind of get an idea of what you can do. One of my favorites is the top left red leak. It's just kind of a fun, cool light leak type of an effect going on. So click on that, and that is the only thing I applied to this original image. Here's before, here's after, just to kind of give it a creative effect, give it a little bit of a little bit something extra. But where I really find that the dual tone starts to make a difference in images is when you're working with landscapes or in a more subtle way. It can really just change the image entirely. So I'm just going to take this background copy, make a quick copy, go into Lens Effects again, We're still in dual tone, and now I'll click on this cool to warm one, and you'll start to see where this can make a difference in landscapes. So here's before, here's after. I've cooled down my sky and I've warmed up my land. I can also come to cool to warm 2. Here's before, here's after. We can continue to go into all of these other ones, which happen to be a little bit more stronger. But I'm going to go down here to reset all, and I'm going to show you exactly how to work with this on the right-hand side so you can really make it work for your image. This one has a few more tabs than what we've already seen here today so far. That's just because it has several different areas to adjust. So in the transition adjustments themselves, you'll see your region size, transition, and angle. I'm actually going to start with the cool to warm preset 1, just so we have something already selected in our regions. And you have 2 regions. We've just named them Region A and Region B. Region A for this particular one is going to be the top region, and Region B is the lower region. Then you have your transition adjustments, which you can determine where you want your region size and then your transition of those regions into each other. So I'm going to take that transition all the way down so you can really see. You should be able to see this line going across the middle of the image at this point. You can change your angle here as well. Let me make these a little bit more obvious. There you go. So you can change the angle like you can in the other angle type of workflows, the transition, and then where you want it placed within your image. And this region B has quite a bit of stuff going on in it too. So now once you've decided where you want it placed, or you can do this within whatever order you'd like, you can make the different regions exactly where you want it. So if I wanted to make my sky a little bit more blue, a little bit more cyan, I'm just going to take the blue and cyan up, kind of get those blues to pop out. Maybe even add in just a tiny bit of magenta. There we go. And then my region B adjustments, I'll take that crazy yellow cast out. And maybe add in a bit more green and yellow to really get these trees to stand out. They're green. So I'm just going to pop that open, maybe a little bit yellow. Still some red. Actually, maybe not as much red. Take my transition size, region size. There we go. And we also have image adjustments here where you can change the brightness, the contrast, and the saturation of your image right from within this particular filter effect. And here's before and after. Again, before and after. And you can get very creative with this, really push it, or keep it very subtle like this as well. All right, the next one I'd like to go over with you here is, let's see, let's go ahead and go over the fog filter. It's one of my favorites. We're going to be covering this in a Quick Tip Thursday coming up, but it is a filter within our filter simulations, so I would like to go ahead and cover it today as well. So I'm just going to use this image. I like to place fog into an image that either already has the beginning of fog, so it's very natural with the light that you're putting the fog effect into already, or a more an image that is going to take the fog effect a little bit better than a really bright sunny day where it doesn't really make sense to place it in there. So this is a good one just to really create a very strong fog effect. And we have the ability within Lens Effects to add ground fog, fog coming down from the sky, or even fog kind of hung in midair. So let's go ahead and look at those. All right, Lens Effects it is. Okay, I'm just going to click on Filter Fog. And we already have some nice presets here set out for you. We have some fog or sky fog presets. And this is kind of hanging midair, as you can tell, even more heavily midair. And then we have more ground fog presets, from thick to very see-through. So all different effects here for you to choose from. I'm going to go ahead and press reset all to get back to my original image and go into my fog adjustments. It's a very simple fog simulation as far as the controls that we have within here. You just clicked your effect position. So let's say I want to have pretty thick ground fog. I'm going to click effect position and click near the bottom of my image. And I'm going to take my amount up. And it's going to be coming up from the ground now. I can take that region size down. Actually, let's take the transition down. There we are. So the region size can increase or decrease wherever you want it. Transition is all the way down. You can make that a more subtle transition. Take that really, really high to get it completely fogged out versus see-through and just slightly hazy. You can also add in a bit of diffusion. The diffusion is going to give you a more realistic type of fog because within our simulation, it's going to keep the detail and keep all of that crispness in there. So if you want to have a little bit more of a natural fog effect, you'll want to go ahead and take that diffusion up just a little for that fog effect area. Let me go ahead and press reset all, and this time we'll take our amount up, transition down, and we'll put the effect position directly kind of in the middle of the image. And this is just kind of a, kind of hanging in midair type of an effect. I can take that amount quite up. I'm actually going to take it a little bit down, take my region size down, transition up a little, maybe take my diffusion up. Here's before, here's after. You can really enhance an image that already has fog, or you can add it in completely. Lastly, we'll go ahead and just change that effect position to the top and kind of get a little bit more heavier fog coming in, heavier diffusion. And there we are. Here's before and after. So that is how you would create a fog effect within Topaz Lens Effects. One of my favorites. I think we've covered most everything. I do want to go ahead and cover the reflector as well, though. So we'll go back to this image of the girl here, and I'll show you what I did to get this final image, because I went a little bit beyond just the reflector effect, obviously, but not much. I stayed in lens effects, so that was really good. So I'm just going to head on over to Filter, Topaz Labs, Lens Effects, and this time I'll go down to our reflector. We have several different presets here for you. You have gold bottom, gold left, gold right, gold top. Same for the silver as well. Silver left, silver right, and silver top. For this particular image, I wanted to use a gold reflector type of an effect, and I wanted it on the right-hand side, so that's where I'll start off with. So right here on our model, and it is not exactly where I need it to be placed. It's coming up into the sky quite a bit, which wouldn't be natural at all. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my reflector adjustments. Here you can choose the type, golden or silver. We're going with golden. You can choose the strength, so you can get really, 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 really high reflection or a little bit more subtle. You can choose the transition, so as I take that strength up, you can see the difference in the transition there, how it becomes much more obvious of a transition when it's at a lower percentage or lower number versus when it's higher. It has a much more gradual transition into the unaffected area. The position, it will come into the image as you take that up. And then the angle. Angle will place it wherever you want it to be. This is how you choose the right, bottom, left, or right. And I kind of want it more like this. And I want the position to come out. I want that strength to go way down and the transition to go up to make it much more natural. Strength to go down. I want it to be pretty realistic here. Here's before, here's after. Now it does come into the sky just a little, but it's much better than where we start out at the preset. Again, here's before and after. It just really opened up the light and feeling of this lower right hand corner. I'm going to go ahead and press apply, and move on to that after image. And basically all I did was come up to my camera toy effect, which is one of my favorites, and apply a preset and go into there and just change it a little bit. I believe what I did was memories. I think that might have been it actually. Just the memories preset here. Here's before, here's after, and I think it actually might have been the soft and dreamy, maybe. Here's before, here's after, but instead I just opened up my toy camera aberrations and took that camera shake out. We'll be going over these camera effects in a later session, and I'll get into all of these more intricate workflows of these camera effects at that point. But that was how quickly I was able to add in a reflector and a toy camera effect and press OK to get before and after. Now I did do an additional adjustment on this afterwards to do some sharpening and really open up her eyes. So that is something I did do in this after image, but this is the majority of the work was done within Lens Effects. Here's before and here's after. So let's maybe look at this stone image, which is a lovely image to start off with, but if I wanted to add a little creative something to it, the streak filter is actually a fun one to play around with. So let's see here. We have gone over everything, yes, except for streak and the warmth filter. I'll go over that here shortly. The streak is going to just give your image kind of like a streaking feeling on top of it. If you look through the streak, you can still see detail through that, and that is what you would actually get with a traditional streak filter screwed onto your lens. You still see detail in some of those areas, and then you usually have some sort of focal point within that streak as well. So here you can choose your effect center whenever you go over into your streak filter adjustments, and you can choose exactly where that center you want it to be. You can choose the amount of the streak that you would like. I actually like a little bit less. You can also choose the angle. So instead of going left or up and down, such as it was doing right here, you can have it go left to right as well. So there's left to right. Let me show you that as I take that motion amount up. You can see how that streak changed. You can also change the focal point of your image to have a little bit more extra focus width or focus height. So you can have a lot of fun with this and get some creative effects here as well. Here's before, here's after. The last thing, I'll go ahead and apply this, and the last thing I'll show you here is this warmth filter. The warmth filter is actually where you'll find both the cooling and the warming filter, and it is a one slider adjustment, and it just has some really nice tones in there. You can't really get this type of cooling and warming tonality within the single filter, single tone filter. So this is a good option if you're just trying to get a warming or cooling one. It's much easier just to go here. And you can see as I go through these different presets, it'll get colder and colder and colder. So here's before and after. And now as I go into my warm presets, it'll get warmer and warmer. It could get really warm. Here's before and after. Again, before and after. And you're not really having to worry about any sort of contrast adjustments or anything like that that you might have to worry about within your single tone filter. So if you're just wanting, again, that warming and cooling, this is a great place for it to be. Okay, everybody, that concludes your quick intro into all 11 filter simulations in Topaz Lens Effects. That is nowhere near the amount of versatile and powerful adjustments that we do have in that program, but obviously these 11 filters can take up one full session because we have so many different things going on in there. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to write us at help@topazlabs.com, and we will get back to you as soon as we can. Thanks again, everybody, and I hope to see you at an upcoming webinar. Bye.